One would have thought that the Arab nations would have been particularly badly hurt by this sudden slump, but as they had invested heavily in the second, third and fourth issues of Rama Terra, they not only weathered the storm but made a profit. The following year, both they and many third world countries began exporting rhinelators to the United States. As the cost of labour in these countries was far cheaper than in the West, this led to an immediate unemployment crisis throughout both the Western Free Trade Zone and the EC. James Hunter was perturbed that the committee had not foreseen this development, and for once Rockman too appeared to have been caught napping. One evening, as the President was sitting in his easy chair by the fire, he found himself thinking, what would South do? On impulse he picked up the phone and dialed his aide's number. South answered the phone almost immediately, and the President put the question to him. How was it that this wondrous piece of new technology was causing more economic problems than it was solving? I don't understand, he said. We've saved tens of billions of dollars on oil and coal already. We can produce more energy now with environmentally friendly renewable rhinelators than we ever could with oil, coal and uranium. And instead of saving money, all we're doing is throwing people out of work. It does seem odd, doesn't it, sir? It's worse than odd, Colonel. We've got a major strike in our hands at the moment. The Power Workers Union has said they're going to close down New York State as a protest against mass redundancies. At the weekend, yes, sir, Mr. President, I had heard, sir. Well, Colonel, I'll certainly appreciate any suggestions you have on this score. Thank you, sir. There was a pause, and the President realised that South had finished speaking, so he added, I mean like now, Colonel? Yes, sir. Well, as I see it, the problem is not to create work, but to distribute the goods and services this new form of virtually free power has given us. Do you understand, sir? Frankly, Colonel, no. Oh, I was reading about it in some old books on financial reform. On financial what? Financial reform, sir. Not that commie stuff, Colonel, I hope. That's long been discredited. Oh, no, sir. Not that share the wealth and workers' control rhetoric, but proper financial reform, as opposed to improper, Colonel. It's all to do with Albus, Mr. President. What's Albus, Colonel? Who, sir? Albus was a person. I don't care who he was. Just go over here as soon as possible and tell me about it. Tonight, sir? No, it'll have to be Wednesday. You're on leave, aren't you? My leave is up tomorrow, Mr. President. If you remember, you put me in charge of the inquiry into the security leak up in Millergate. Oh, yes. Millergate was a minor scandal involving a former White House security officer who had become involved in a forged ticket racket. This had led to all manner of allegations being made against the former Vice President, but even if any of these had been substantiated, they would not have affected the present administration. The following Wednesday, as scheduled, South gave him a brief resume of the Albus proposals for financial reform. The point was that the purpose of a financial system should be to distribute the goods and services the community demanded and was able to create. At least it should have been. In reality, though, it was used for a variety of other purposes. One was to enable banks and other corporations to move billions of dollars around the world at the touch of a button in response to minor fluctuations in interest rates. This created great wealth for a few people, on paper, but did not generate any real wealth. Another and far more sinister purpose of the financial system was to keep the peasants in line, as South put it. James Hunter thought this all sounded very conspiratorial, but South told him that over the past few months he'd made a careful study of the financial system and the modus operandi of its controllers, and it was less a conspiracy than a mindset. What are you saying, Colonel? The President asked at length. What I'm saying, sir, is that we have to inflate the economy. James Hunter's heart skipped a beat when he heard that dreaded word. Inflation? Colonel, are you out of your mind? Well, sir, the point is that there is an acute shortage of purchasing power. I understand that, Colonel, he said, but inflation will simply push the cost of goods and services up. Then he added as an afterthought, and that'll throw us out of office. No, sir, said the Colonel. That's what you're led to believe by economists, but they all work for the banks. They don't, Colonel, said the President. Some of them work for the universities and some work for the government. Yes, sir, but they're all Marxist-oriented. Marxists? Commies? In the US government? No, sir, not Marxists, but Marxist or indoctrinated. The point is that none of these people can see further than their noses. They're all trying to maximise the profits of the banks or to create full employment. And you say we don't need full employment, Colonel? This is what Albus and others have said, sir. We're moving towards a fully automated society. Probably that will never come. We'll always need doctors, dentists, TV anchormen and the like. But many of the manual jobs of the past will simply become redundant. Indeed, they have already. The result is that capital is concentrated into fewer and fewer hands. This is one of the few correct predictions that Karl Marx ever made. The other thing is that although the workforce will continue to shrink, those people in work will have more and more purchasing power, which is good news for them. But not for the people out of work, eh, Colonel? What I was going to say, sir, is that this is good news for them until it comes to paying for all the people out of work, through their taxes. Correct, sir. Now, the conventional economic system requires the government to tax those in work to pay doles and welfare for those who are out of work. And what the government can't meet by taxation, it borrows from the banking system. That's right, Colonel, but at least it doesn't cause inflation. Oh, but it does, sir. The money the government borrows has to be repaid at interest, which it could find only by further taxation or by further loans. Further loans from the banking system will simply drive up the national debt, while further taxation deprives those in work of purchasing power. So you say the government should just print the money, Colonel. The point is, sir, that the Ramulators give us free or nearly free energy, and that corresponds to an increase in wealth. If there is an increased wealth in the country and no increased purchasing power to buy it, there's a slump. Precisely, sir. This is what happened during the Great Depression. The government was too worried about balancing the budget. The last thing the government ever needs to do is balance the budget. He frowned, but South went on. The thing that always puzzled me, sir, is that if the government is in hock to the banking system, who are we actually in hock to? The people who lend money to the bank, of course, depositors, you and me. So what you're saying, sir, is that we're all in debt to ourselves. With respect, sir, that is absurd. Anyway, the banks don't actually lend the money of their depositors. They create the credit at the point of loan issue. This then goes out to entrepreneurs and other borrowers, and when it returns, it is cancelled out of existence. Cancelled out? Asked the President, now thoroughly bewildered. Cancelled out, except for the interest, which is the bank's profit, less its overheads, of course. But doesn't the bank have to pay its depositors' interest, Colonel? Yes, sir, but the point is that the bank has this money on deposit all the time. I see. He paused and then asked, as the bank doesn't charge interest, it makes no profit, right? The bank should not be entitled to make any profit on something that's given to us for free, sir. Free? Yes, sir. Isn't that what Ramu told you? That this new technology must be used for the benefit of all mankind?